Good morning. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. Mike, guess what? T's not here. She's visiting her sister. I'd have to be quiet. Wake up! Good morning. Tee's visiting her sister for the rest of the week, so we don't have to be quiet. The poor dog is probably freaking out. So, we talked about 3 things towards changing your life. Number 1, getting new ideas, finding out new information, new ways of doing things, right? And we talked about being as curious as a child, that you go out with enthusiasm and faith and not being pessimistic, and keep trying until you get the result that you want, looking for new information to help you. And it's so much easier these days than it used to be. I mean, my goodness, if you wanted new information in the past, you used to have to listen to cassette tapes, for crying out loud. Can you imagine? Now, all you got to do is pick up this thing I'm talking into, and you can find out any piece of information in the world. So, new information. Then the second step was take action. You have to actually act on these ideas. Tony Robbins is doing a free comeback challenge this week. Day 1 was yesterday, which was 2 hours. And if you sign up, they sent out an email that you can still watch it. It's each day in Central Time Zone. It's at 1 o'clock. It's supposed to be for an hour. Tony never is on time. That violates rules for people in the Midwest, I understand, but he's from California where things like that are different. So if you want new information, new ideas, or just enthusiasm this week, that is a great opportunity. It's free. It's one of the greatest coaches ever. So the third step, first step, get information. Second step, take action, right? Find out information and then put it to work. Go do what you need to do. Take the steps, take action, move towards your goals. And we talked about never leaving the sight of a goal without taking action and taking massive action. The third step, these are Jim Rohn ideas. So he said, don't try and cut corners. His message was, you have to do the work. That there's no cheap and easy ways to achieve success. Shortcuts and cheap approaches lead to short lives and cheap lives. That if you want to have a super high quality of life, you got to do super high quality work, and you got to go through the process that is necessary in order to get there. So, it's kind of like if you want to have a child, you can't do it faster by getting 9 women pregnant. It still takes 9 months in order to create a child. Well, the same is true with success and wealth many times. There are people who get wealthy overnight. There are people who become successful overnight. But success, achievement, fulfillment, all of those things, they shouldn't be a short-term idea. They should be lifelong commitments. Because it's not about the success. It's about what you have to become in order to be successful. So, interesting, as Tony was starting his conversation yesterday, he talked about that when, he shut down on COVID, there was a few people that he was able to get together with and social distance and talk to. And he was with a whole series of very successful people like himself who had started with absolutely nothing and were now significantly successful. And what was interesting is when they sat around and talked, all they talked about were the days when they had nothing and when they were struggling. I've had the pleasure of meeting 4 or 5 billionaires in my life, but being around some really successful people in that environment. And if you sit down and first of all, most of the time with those people, it's hard to get them to talk about themselves. They talk about you when they're talking to you. You can always tell somebody that really has money because they never tell you. They ask you questions about yourself. They don't tell you about themselves. But if you really start talking to them and asking them about their successes, the part that they will talk about the most was the part that was the greatest struggle. They'll go back to the time where they struggled the hardest, where it looked like it wasn't going to work out, where they had nothing and they were, living in little tiny apartments or sleeping on somebody else's couch. That's what they will talk to you about. And that's because that's where they made their greatest achievement. They won't talk to you about the deal they just did where they made $100 million or whatever. They'll talk to you about the first deal where they made their first $20,000. Because that was when the shift happened that they finally figured out that they could accomplish their dreams. And they changed as a person. They became the type of person that would be able to achieve that result. A breakthrough happens when the impossible becomes possible and you act on it. And all that is a mental shift. It's a mental shift where you suddenly come to the point where you decide this can happen and it's going to happen and I'm going to make it happen now. And that can come from inspiration or that can come from desperation. So go find the inspiration today. Have an amazing Wednesday. I'd encourage you to throw that on. It's on Facebook Live at 1 o'clock. It's free. No matter what you're doing, you can throw an AirPod in your ear and you can listen to it. But find out today what it is that's going to inspire you to have your breakthrough. Because the rest of our lives should be about finding breakthroughs all the time in every area, in our relationships with our kids, our relationships with our significant others. Remember, if we're either growing or we're dying. So today, let's go grow. Go have an amazing Wednesday out there, everybody. Let's take care of each other. Have a great day.